All right. Hello. It is great to have you here today. Can you pronounce your name for us just so we get it right?
Sure. Pranav Desai.
It's great to meet you. I'm Linnea. I'm with Brand Smart, working on the PayMore brand. You just signed an awesome deal with PayMore, and so tell us a little bit about yourself and this new deal with the brand.
Absolutely. So specifically about me, I'd start with the company. We are part of TIG, which stands for the Integrity Group, a TIG Corp. Paymore will be our fourth or fifth brand. So primarily we are involved with the Green Turtle Sports Bar. We also have Qdoba Mexican Eats, Dave's Hot Chicken. We have Checkers, and then now Paymore, which is a little bit different. This is our first non-food venture, and we are really excited. So that's on the TIG side. Personally, me, I'm one of the founders of the company as well as the executive member, primarily leading the marketing and HR functions for our company. Obviously, we have a big team now, but those are my core areas. And then my two partners, along with Manisha, they're involved in other parts of the business. So it would be Manisha, Jiger Patel, and then Raj Mahadevia. So that is our executive ownership team.
Wow, that's incredible. So how long have you been in franchising yourself?
I have been in franchising since 2000 and in a full-time basis, I would say 2016 when we first launched the Integrity Group with our first venture in Green Turtle Sports Bar and Grill. So that was my first foray. Before that, there were some small investments that I have made, but not actively involved.
That's a long time. I guess tell us a little bit about why you chose to get into franchising and what brands you chose, and then kind of how you transitioned and stumbled on Paymore.
Absolutely. So my background has been in banking and strategy management consulting. Out of college, I did my computer science, but that was never really my thing. I got into IBM Global Services and was part of the strategy and management part of the business. Um, did that for almost 15, 16 years. It was exciting, learned a lot. But when I finished my MBA and sort of talking to different entrepreneurs and like-minded business people, I realized that at some point I would like to get involved and do something of my own. That's when I partnered with Jiger Patel, and he was already in franchising. So I learned about that model, and I was fascinated because of the scalability and how, I could bring something right off the table to his experience in the operations side, running different restaurant brands like Dunkin's and Checkers at that time. I saw a good fit where I'd be able to come in and help more on the strategy, building our corporate structure, building the teams, properly market it, and build the whole organization around TIG Corp, our company. So that is how it started. And when we were looking at different brands, we knew that, anything that we launch, we have to believe and we have to feel strongly about the brand, not just for the sake of doing it. And we were big into sports at that time. So we thought that would have been a cool place to start, which, we learned a lot. We're glad we did that. But it was a lot different from scaling perspective. And COVID, were hit with COVID, by the time we had 4 restaurants, we realized that maybe not where we want to be in terms of how fast we want to grow. So we pivoted during that time and got into more of fast casual and fast food sort of space, only because the drive-throughs and the third party and the consumer behavior had evolved or was fast changing. We saw an opportunity and we were able to get involved in that. So since then, from 1 unit in 2017 to 4 in 2020 to about 40 plus now in 2025. So we are happy and we are excited to
That's
have
incredible.
jumped onto this. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, you guys have grown fast. That's a
Yep.
lot.
Yep. I mean, the important thing was that we had a good core of team and the infrastructure behind us already that we are working on. So then it was adding the brands just helped us. It was a self-fulfilling concept where we were growing, but the growth also helped us bring better talent and to feed our growth faster.
So tell me a little bit, because, I come from Chick-fil-A and I was actually there during COVID. And so I totally understand your experience with, full service restaurants and then kind of fast casual. It was really weird for us being one of the only places that people could go to eat. So I guess, is there any insights that you have for people kind of now getting into fast casual or full service restaurants that you like, a big takeaway that you learned within those spaces, maybe before or after COVID?
I would say for those spaces, there's a lot more, but one thing we learned that I would advise on anyone getting into this or any business is the value of diversification. We had primarily one concept in one segment, and if that gets a hit, you're pretty much exposed on all fronts. And that is one thing we learned out of COVID, that we need to be diversified and have different, not maybe in one industry we would have been fine if it were different, like, if we had drive-thrus and fast casual, we would be in a much better, position, whereas it was just full service, right? So that was the biggest lesson learned that we have learned. Theoretically, we knew how important, whether it is the stock trading or real estate or whatever it is, we knew that, just did not apply to ourselves. So that was lesson learned that, from the beginning, keep an eye on diversification and have this as part of the strategy and execute on that strategy. So that was one. As far as specifically in fast casual, I think what we learned coming out of COVID was really how important it is to, even during this time, to take care of the guest. There was no excuse. There are a lot of people taking shortcuts or saying, people are coming anyways. It doesn't matter. The operational standards had taken a hit. And I'm not going to lie, finding people and, all the headwinds that were against us for 2 years after COVID were just something that I've never experienced in my whole professional life. But the people who are still standing and who are thriving are the people who did not compromise on those guest metrics and the standards. That is key to be successful in long run. Yes, it costed us more. Yes, it was difficult to find this kind of people who cared. And it was challenging. But I think if we don't, and if we as business owners give that as a excuse to have lapse in customers, guest service, you're coming from Chick-fil-A, you understand and you know the value of how important it is. And I think we have lived it and we see it, that people who stuck with those core values are more successful.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge point. And again, how I experienced it, like I don't think I would ever want to go back during that time. My job as a marketing director turned into HR and guest retention. And, it was really tough. And then, having the dining room closed, it was pretty crazy. But again, I think you make a huge point, is that at the end of the day, it's about the customer. And I think a lot of those companies that you saw go down really just didn't continue to value them. So I think that's a huge aspect. Again, you spoke about diversification, and I think the way you brought it up is really interesting in relation to COVID, because a lot of franchisees talk about diversifying just to, get a vast portfolio, but you never really think about if there is a really big, tremendous fall in an industry. So tell us a little bit more. And you said PayMore is your first retail brand, correct? Or no?
That's correct. We have looked at a bunch of them, but this is our first actual brand that we signed up with.
What really drew you to the brand, or any key points that you want to share?
Yeah, so part of it was diversification that we already covered, but that was not the only other primary driver. It was also understanding that operations is not easy, right? Taking care of the guests and managing them. So yes, our core value has been to be a place where people can come in and celebrate and enjoy, which restaurant is a perfect fit for that. But when we looked at how do we manage the restaurants and how, operationally, when we are relying on our people and our human resource element and it's a volume, then you're not able to address when you become larger. When we were small, we cared, we had all that personal connection with our people. Now, as you continue to grow, it becomes the distance or separation is wider. At that point, we are like, okay, this is great. We already know this. But if we were to get into some other business model, which is less reliant or less dependent on a large pool of workforce, we would definitely be interested in that, only because, some of the other brands, it is not that people are not important, but it's not that amount of people that are needed is much more manageable. So now we have 2 to 3 to 4 people max running a store of PayMore. Compare that to 40, 50, 60 people running our busy restaurants. And that is like a 1 to 10 ratio. And we are much more comfortable. We feel like, okay, what we know there, that's not going to change. We already have the infrastructure. We already have the base. But if we were to launch and get into something new, then we should also have a different type of business model where it's not heavily dependent on the workforce. So that
Yeah.
was the second big reason. So it was A is diversification, B is the ease of operations and can be done with, less number of people running the store. And then the third was the financial model made sense where the ROI and the scales of economy. If this works, we are able to grow at a much larger, faster pace, maintaining our profitability and without taking a large hit on trying to learn something new. So that was also helping that it feeds our growth in a different area without having to learn and really step up to know how to operate this. So think of like car wash or, oil change and some of those models that we looked at. It was similar to that, except that the real estate. So that comes into the fourth area, which is ease of
Yeah.
operation. Yes. Less people. Yes. Scalable. Yes. But what is one more thing that was missing, which PayMore gave us, was the real estate, because it's such a small footprint that is needed. And the markets that we serve in, real estate is pretty expensive and hard to come by. With this model, we thought that along with ease, along with scalability, along with the economics, we also are able to go into sites that typically we had a hard time getting into. So this hopefully will be easier. So yeah, those are the 4 main reasons.
Yeah. Those are pretty good. And I guess, how do you feel going into this? Is it this your first real emerging brand? I know PayMore, they're built up pretty well, but they're kind of sitting in that emerging or new category.
Not necessarily. We have Dave's Hot Chicken. And Dave's Hot Chicken is similar to PayMore, maybe a little bit ahead in their growth trajectory, but maybe 2019 is probably when they first launched and started franchising. And end of 2024, in December, they had 216 restaurants. So they grew from 4 in 2020 to 216 4 years. So we feel, and we are, we're proud and glad that we were able to pick up those brands. So that gave us the confidence. Usually before Dave's, we would not have signed up, but with that experience, gave us the confidence that the right kind of emerging brands with the right leadership and the support mechanism, they can be successful and they will be able to reach the maturity level like some of the legacy brands much faster, especially the ones that are tech savvy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a whole new category in franchising. As someone who markets it on the daily, it's like trying to describe it different ways. So yeah, I think that's really good insight. And so tell me again how many units you guys all have and what territories you're targeting.
So we are based out of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So I live in New Jersey. Our office is at the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey in Bucks County, Langhorne specifically. And most of our store operating base is in 5 states, from Staten Island, New York, to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, which is mostly the surrounding areas of Philadelphia, and then all the way to west coast of Florida. So from Tampa all the way to Naples. So that's kind of our core territory of where we operate. And for PayMore, we have signed up for similar type of market, not yet Florida, but we like the markets we operate in. We have good base, we have good team in place, and we understand the clientele.
Awesome. Is there a certain area you guys are targeting for your first few locations?
We like to operate where we are closest to the stores that that we live in and where our offices are. So we want to target primarily in central South Jersey as our step one, maybe North Jersey is step two, or, after the first one. But the reality is that, we go with the best real estate possible. So operationally speaking, we'd like to be closer to our office and our homes so that we can learn and we'll be more involved. But if opportunity came up, it was a AAA site that we cannot lose, and it is in North Jersey, probably will do it. Some South Jersey, probably will do it. All the way out in Allentown or some of our remote, farther away markets, probably not, but it depends on case by case.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
that's great info. I think we hit, all the points on the head and you answered all my questions.
Awesome.
So again, thanks for speaking with me today, and it was amazing to meet you.
Likewise.